Hello, Professor Lim. Tomorrow, that will be November 4th, I won't be attending class because I got called into work. Um, but I did want to give you my portion of the discussion on A Prisoner of the Caucasus. I know that it's not like a collaborative with the whole class, but at least you can know what I think about it. I thought it was a really nice story. I mean, just like the writing was really direct, and the descriptive language painted a really clear picture. It was just really easy to read and sometimes really poetic. At least this translation. I don't know if it's different for others or if it was intentionally supposed to be poetic, but the first three or four chapters seemed to have like this rhyme scheme to it, a really natural rhyme scheme, and I really enjoyed that. And yes, it was beautiful descriptions, like the way that they described the Tsar's dwellings. The room was very pleasant, with smoothly plastered clay walls. By the front wall lay a pile of brightly colored feather beds, and the side walls were covered with rich carpets. Guns, pistols, swords, all of silver, were hung over the carpets. Close to one wall was a small stove on the level with earthen floor, which was as clean as the threshing floor. One entire corner was covered with felt, on top of which were feather cushions and rugs. On those rugs were some Tsars. On those rugs, some Tsars were sitting in their slippers, etc., etc. It's just like paints a really beautiful rustic image of like what I would imagine to be like a community who's living with horses and in like a colder tundra-esque landscape or mountainous landscape. Like it makes me think of people from Mongolia, you know, who have their horses, they have their horse tradition, and they live in these canvas, like it's like a hut, but it also looks like a tent, like a canvas tarp, animal hide thing with like just the walls are adorned and there's rugs everywhere. Like it makes me feel that way, like Western indigenous Russia, which I know that's not necessarily where the Caucasus are, but it just paints that image, and I really enjoy that aspect of it. I also enjoy that even though I guess I was under the impression that this was a romance. I'm assuming then it's actually Pushkin's version of this that's a romance, because I was nervous when we meet Dina, and like I don't know, I feel like Western and maybe American literature would have a romance bud between Zealand and Dina, but she's a child, and so I enjoy that like he just like makes her toys and she's just nice to him because, you know, he's a nice guy. He made her toy and he didn't have to do that at all. So I like their relationship, that it's friendly and innocent. And I also like that even though Zealand is technically on enemy lines, the descriptions are never degrading, and they don't explicitly take sides of which group is right or wrong, or it's never about righteousness from the perspective of the author. The author is just telling a story, describing what's happening, describing a scene as it's playing out. I really appreciate that, because in war, everyone has their side and no one is right or wrong. And people who are on the side of their belief system can kind of paint a more dualistic picture, whereas this is just like what happened. This seems to be just like a story of what happened. last thing I want to say about it, at the beginning when Zealand was like, should I go ahead or shouldn't I? It seemed like in that moment when his intuition told him that he should have stayed, like it wasn't a good idea. It seemed like he wasn't going to. He's like, Zealand wondered, why don't I go on ahead without the soldiers? I have a fine horse, and if I come across any SARS, I will gallop away. Or perhaps I should be patient. It's like that second thought, like, maybe I should wait. It's like, one, he should have followed his intuition, and two, I thought that this book was setting up like a fable, like a lesson. And maybe it's not so obvious to me, but I'm not sure if there's any moral to be gained or to be learned here. But that portion of the story seemed like a setup for some kind of fable to accumulate or culminate at the end of the story. So that's how I feel about it. I really enjoyed it. I love Tolstoy's writing. It's very clear and beautiful. Thank you.